We are just watching a situation that is developing. You can see the pictures that are coming in here. About 6 minutes ago, we got word that there was an incident at Fort Meade base in Maryland on Llewellyn Avenue, or near Llewellyn Avenue, where a vehicle tried to ram the gate entrance to Fort Meade, and that then there was some gunfire. We do not have any reports of injuries so far on this situation, but you can see the aftermath and the crash aftermath as a result of this. It looks like this black vehicle was likely the vehicle that ran the gate, and the other vehicle may have been the police that returned fire.
Okay, there you have it. That was this morning. Joining us now is General Michael Hayden. Of course, he is former CIA and NSA director, and of course, that facility houses the NSA. General, your reaction to that bizarre auto incident, which reportedly one person was shot, two people in the car that tried to ram the gate were men dressed as women. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot innocent about this, Steve, and it looks as if the security force there at Fort Meade did all the right things to defend the workforce. You know, our campus at Fort Meade at NSA, when I got there in 1999, was an open campus. Those streets you saw in the Fox News video now that seem to be well protected were all state of Maryland throughways that anyone could travel through, and our buildings were protected as separate, isolated islands. Even before 9/11, we began to change that, and then, of course, after 9/11, we really accelerated it. And so we've had a chance. This isn't the first time somebody tried to break through our barriers. In each instance, the security force has been right on the mark.
All right, so you say you don't see a whole lot innocent about this. What do you think it could be? I know you're speculating, but what concerns you about this?
Well, certainly speculating, but someone, obviously not authorized, in disguise with a heavy vehicle, try to speed through a checkpoint. And so, like the security officials there, you've got to think the worst and use the appropriate force level. Now, Steve, I don't know. Were they going to try to do something lethal to the workforce? Was this just a demonstration to spray paint graffiti? Was it just a bunch of drunken college students proving they could do something? I don't know. But it's certainly bizarre, certainly stupid, and it could have had very evil intent. So I'm glad that the forces there responded as they did. This is not anything for anyone to fool around with.
Right. No, couldn't agree more. All right, let me switch a little bit to Iran, and I know you addressed this earlier on Newsmax television, but let me specifically ask you about this, and we could put up a tweet. This tweet is from a reporter, Laura Rosen, who covering the nuclear talks in Switzerland for an online publication called Al Monitor. And she tweeted that a friend of a colleague ran into John Kerry at a chocolate shop, and she said that friends in Iran are looking forward to a deal, and he said, in answer to that, Inshallah, which means Allah willing.
Right.
Can you picture, first of all, if he said that, I mean, is that appropriate?
Nah, it's all right. I'm seriously, no, I got issues with the deal, all right? And we'll probably deconstruct that in a minute here, Steve. But, I mean, he's been negotiating with Muslim interlocutors now for well over a year. Muslims never refer to the future without saying God willing as a sign of respect to the Creator. You know, would you have felt more comfortable with amen? You know, we've got each culture has their own. I wouldn't make a deal about that at all. I would make a deal about the deal, though, because I'm afraid we're going to accept something here that frankly, I've got a really high discomfort level about.
All right. Now, General Michael Flynn, the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, said yesterday that Obama's Middle East policy is one of willful ignorance. And I guess, General, I'm not going to put words in your mouth or dictate to you what you have to think, but you got to figure, you either have to think that this man is the most ignorant, person on the face of the earth who just is a miserable failure at everything he touches when it comes to foreign policy and especially the Middle East, or because of the consistency of it all, There's a plan, and the plan is to let Iran have an enhanced role in the entire region.
Well, actually, Steve, I would prefer to say that we just lack a coherent strategy. But you're right. If you take the individual points of light here and you try to create parallax, where do they all seem to come together? It does seem that central to our government's policy in the Middle East for the last 7 years has been Iran and coming to some sort of accommodation with Iran. You can see it reflected in what we did or didn't do in Iraq, did or didn't do in Syria. I'd even go so far, Steve, to say you can see it in what we didn't do in the Ukraine so that we wouldn't anger the Russians, this agreement we needed for an Iranian deal. This has become central, and I think it's an incredibly high-risk proposition.
Yeah, well, it certainly is. And do you believe that we're going to hear, just as now we're hearing we get the best deal possible? I'm sorry, now we're hearing no deal is better than a bad deal. But do you believe that when push comes to shove, if we sign a deal and it's a terrible deal, as we all believe it will be, you'll start hearing it's the best we could do, and that will become acceptable to the administration?
As surely as night follows day, if we accept an agreement, and people like me or other folks who frankly, Steve, may be wrong, all right? We're going to have a real scrum about this when we get an agreement. We will hear almost from the beginning of the counter-argument, this was the best deal possible, which then I would point out was not the conditions for success that was laid out at the beginning. One
more. There's a report that before the leak and the NSA mold ending the phone program, before the Snowden leak, you see any, we got about 35 seconds, you see any indication that the NSA program will come to an end?
Yeah, I do. I think that our government has indicated that if Congress doesn't act, that NSA is going to fold its tent on this program because it will lose the authorization it currently has to do what it is currently doing without replacing it with any new approach. Now, there's some legal technicalities that give them a window, but although technically perhaps legal, it would be very, very much contested and may not be worth the candle.
And 10 seconds.
So what we need is Congress to act.
Okay, and that would be bad if it ended, right?
It would. That's why Congress has to act.
Okay. General, thank you as always. Thank you very much. We're coming back with Tom Bevan of Real Clear Politics, folks.